Good day and welcome to HTMi's podcast. Today we have the pleasure of chatting with Ms. Katrin Herz, a hotel manager at the Ritz Carlton Dubai International Financial Center and one of our honored HILAB members. Katrin, lovely to have you back with us.
Thank you so much. Always great to be back.
And it's always great chatting to you. I mean, in the past we've spoken about so many fascinating topics. Today I'd like to speak to you about the importance of employee or staff guest interactions within five-star luxury hotels.
Very good.
From your experience, how important is this?
It's really key. I think guest engagement is where actually you get measured on. I mean, you can say we get measured by the product, we get measured by the service levels, we get measured by the location. But at the end of the day, many of our luxury guests, they want to have an engagement. They want to feel like they're important. They want to be dealt with like a friend, a guest, someone that comes home. Interesting enough, we just had our brand standard audit in the hotel last week. And it's a very detailed Marriott Ritz Carlton procedures where, those mystery shoppers come into your hotel, and it was just redone based on this information that guests do not only or that do not rate you anymore on product and services, but how engaging the employees are with them. So out of these 100%, 80% are actually based on how engaged was the employee with the guest, and only 20% is on the condition of the room, the internet, the product, the service, the F&B, and how can you make sure that your employees are engaging with the guest. And it really made us think as well, what trainings, what systems, what selection processes do you have in place to get those employees on board that are engaged themselves, because that I think is the key thing. You can only be engaging with the guest if you are yourself an employee are engaged with the company, and how can you then deliver those engagement results to the guest?
I mean, all hotels have standards, take a check-in, check-out, or any guest encounter, whether it's in the restaurant, at the front desk, and they have the standards, good morning, sir, welcome to the hotel. How engaged must an employee be to be really engaged?
And I think it was one of the things that we were just discussing during the meeting as well. A lot of big companies actually are going away from all those standards and from prompting them to use checklists and going back to you're here to make a guest feel comfortable. Use your personality, use your common sense, use your whatever you have. And of course there are guidelines and standards that need to be followed. And there's, interesting enough, there are trainings in regards to verbiage, in regards to body language, in regards to grooming, in regards to things you can say to come across as more engaging. But a lot of things comes back as well to having the talent and for finding the people that are passionate hospitality people that are just naturally engaging, and then kind of giving them a little bit the technical tools instead of having a very process-oriented approach and then trying to teach someone to be engaging where perhaps the talent is not even there.
So what are the skills that an employee needs to have today, to really deliver? I mean, last time we spoke about quality guest service, and this is all part of the whole quality guest service that hotels are delivering to guests. But in order to be more engaging today, not like a robot at the check-in, check-out, what specific skills do people need today?
I think skills is it's difficult to say what skills do you need to be engaging. I think it comes back to, are you in the hospitality industry because you like to care for guests? Do you genuinely care? Are you, and that's discussions we have on a corporate level as well, are you as a general manager, are you a host? Are you someone that welcomes guests to your house? Or are you a legal person, a financial person, a salesperson? Are we really still hoteliers? And the skills are from, like I said, caring, curiosity to meet guests and to meet guests, having that friendly relationship, I mean, skills you could definitely say for a line employee to be engaging, they need to speak the language, which we see in many hotels is a breakdown, that the main language is not fluent enough to really be engaging with the guests. And we need to make sure that in the front of the house positions, the employees speak the languages of the guest. Only so much engaging you can do if you cannot understand each other, right? But another, it comes as well with confidence as well. How do you train confidence, right? What kind of skills can I give you to be confident talking to a guest? A lot of things come with the experience as well, then that you grow into a position where you feel comfortable. And I was just, as I was interviewing a couple of students now, there is a way to make you feel more comfortable from perhaps moving from a more heart of the house position into a more front of the house position, instead of just jumping in, not being ready and feeling that you're overwhelmed and not being able to engage because you're just so overloaded with the technical aspects of a job that you cannot engage.
Today a lot of people forget the personal contact, between the guest and the employee. So what do you think we in schools should be doing, to prepare our students? I mean, we give them, the necessary skills, how to do a check-in, check-out, the technological skills, the academic, the theory. But in order to really develop on those personalities that they need for those personal engagements.
It's difficult in a student environment, but I think what we do a lot as well for training purposes is role plays, for example. That you really go through a check-in, a problem resolution, and role play, and then ask them at the end, how engaged are you now with this person? Was your problem solved is one thing, but how do you feel about the process? Was there genuine care? Was there passion? Was there commitment? Or was it just a checklist that was filled out? Videotaping different interactions and watching their body language and their whole approach. I mean, I think there's many ways that can prepare them for the next step in a classroom environment.
I mean, we do quite a lot of that here. I mean, we analyze afterwards, the wording they used, was it hi, was it good morning, how may I help you instead of how can I help you. You've mentioned a few times now about body language. Why is body language in guest interaction so important?
Like we discussed as well, I think it's just the basic expectation. It starts with a grooming standard all the way through to the basics. Although there again, we're trying to move away more from the standards and say this, don't say this, as long as you have a big smile and you passionately say, how can I help you? There's nothing wrong with saying, how can I help you? You can sound very terrible saying, how may I help you? So we are more and more moving away from scripting, our ladies and gentlemen, and saying, as long as you show passion, genuine care, you can be yourself, you have a personality, I don't care what you say, as long as the message comes across the right way. And with body language, I think it's it's just the basics, that you want to feel approachable, that your body language you need to send the message that you are available for the guests, that you're ready, that, we call it radar on, antenna up, I can stand in the lobby and look very busy, or I can stand in the lobby and look like I want to talk to someone, and what kind of body language shows one or the other. And this can be, I think, quite simply explained and put in practice then.
Can you give us some examples of negative body language that should never be used in a guest interaction?
I mean, it's basic. Like, for example, we say in all public areas you're not allowed to play with your phones, right? And this could be on a phone, texting, whatever it is. Because if I stand in a lobby like this, I don't look like I'm approachable or ready to help. And I know we are all very addicted to our devices. But if I'm in a public area, I'm there for the guest. I'm not on the phone. And this, pulls through from crossed arms to leaning on a desk. Right? There's just certain things that I think are basics that we can teach our ladies and gentlemen to have that knowledge. But in general, it's quite interesting that we're going away from being very, very directive and just saying, as long as you're engaging, do whatever you want to do. Use whatever words you want to do it your way, but you need to have some sort of a style.
I mean, that's something, I teach in my front office classes. The problem is we're very often not aware of our body language.
Correct.
Especially the negative body language signals that we're giving off to guests and to others. What can a student do to become more aware of their negative body language skills?
We just we have those quality improvement teams, and my front office manager and me, we were working on a kind of an internal training, and we actually pulled mirrors into a meeting room, and we had them stand in front of a mirror and say, now give a warm welcome 20%. Now give a warm welcome 50%. Now give a warm welcome 100%. And now give a warm welcome. You see your mom that you haven't seen in a year. How would that warm welcome? Yeah. And just observing their facial expressions and having them aware. What a sincere smile would look like. What a welcome would look like to a very warm welcome. I think just those practical exercises and having them stand in front of a mirror, or if you have the chance to videotape them. And we always say as well, whatever you do, the person in front of you will reflect, right? So if you are not having the greatest body language and positive expression, probably the guest will look at you the same way. So the goal should be get a smile on the guest's face, because when the guest is smiling, most probably you are doing something to get it there. And there's things you can play with. And we have those kind of competitions where you say you have a guest coming in for check-in and he doesn't look like a happy camper. The goal would be let's have him into a friendly mood at the end.
Mirror your,
correct. It needs to be a contagious thing, and it works. It really works.
I love the idea about the mirror. Our next front office class.
I can show you I took pictures. It was a fun exercise, and we had those signs 20, 50, 100, 150, and we took pictures, and they compared their smiles, and it's a simple thing, but I think it helps.
I think that's great. Earlier, you also spoke about grooming standards. How important is this?
Key. It will never go away. I know that there are many different hotel companies that have different grooming standards depending on their brand and their image. For Ritz Carlton and many luxury companies, it's still going to be a very traditional grooming standard. And I always tell them in those 2-day orientations when they come on board, you will not be successful if you cannot follow the grooming standards, and you cannot be successful if you can't come on time. Attendance and grooming, it will just never go away. I think it's the expectation the guest has. It's the first impression. If you cannot look groomed, I don't know if the kitchen will be clean or the room will be clean, or it just leads to so many things. And perhaps it's a very old-fashioned kind of approach, and many other industries do not have grooming standards anymore, but I think in the luxury industry that's here to stay. And for the new ladies and gentlemen joining Ritz Carlton, the sooner you can get used to it and embrace them, the easier and the more successful I think you will be.
I mean, you used the word perfect grooming standards. That's quite nice to hear from a professional hotel manager in a Ritz Carlton. So you agree that there's no left and there's no right within grooming standards. It's that way.
And it's reinforced every day by the leaders. We do what we call the lineup before every shift starts. And if there's somebody that is not groomed, he's not starting his shift. And that means you go shave, or you wash your hair, or you put on makeup, or you polish your shoes, or, it's just not today, yes, tomorrow, no. It's a basic expectation, and it's checked every day. It's part of the performance reviews. It's part of any feedback session. Grooming is always there.
Today you're conducting numerous interviews with our students. So in the interview, what are you specifically looking for in the student regarding grooming? And if you could also give a few pointers to their resumes, because again, a resume doesn't allow for any mistakes.
Correct. We discussed it a little bit. Obviously, the resume is kind of that first impression. Without seeing you, I'm already forming a picture. So from a spelling mistake to a layout to a correct information, mistakes are just not tolerated. And I think it's it's just one of the things that will not get you a job, but will keep you from getting one. You know, it's just, it has to be there in order to even go into the second round. In interviews, I think what we are looking for is the passion for the hospitality industry. As we know, it's a very hard job. It's not a job that pays off early in the career, so you have to have that energy and that passion and that drive, and it could come from many different angles. It could come from a culinary, from a food and beverage, from a rooms, from a sales, from marketing. It doesn't matter from which angle, but I think the passion to serve, the passion to care for others, and this is what we look for in an interview. And everybody has their own way of describing it and sees themselves growing to different positions through different careers. But I think you are in a hotel because you like to be of service. And that's what we are looking for. We're looking for stories or experiences where they have had encounters, where they have done the extra mile to please the guest. And it doesn't even have to be a work experience. It could be helping a friend or helping someone in need, or it's just that human touch that I think is so key.
I'd just like to end off, because in the HILAB today we also spoke about the importance of preparing our students to be not just managers but to be leaders. Mm-hmm. And within a hotel organization, you know, how important, you know, we spoke earlier about the interaction between employees and guests. But what about that interaction between managers, leaders and employees?
Mm-hmm. It's something difficult, I think, for school to teach. You know, there are those natural leaders that have it in them and then grow through their experiences. I think at Ritz Carlton in general, we are very much hands-on leaders, and we really manage and lead by example. And this is something that from different chains and different cultures, it's something new. We are very much with the team, motivating, recognizing, very, very much hands-on. And I think it's just something that you need to enjoy, that kind of management style. It's not a leading by power or leading by position or leading by whatever it is, authority. It's a leading with the team. And this, I think, can be learned. Hopefully learned by observing other successful leaders within the company and learning from them and with them. But I think from a school point of view as well, we discussed it as well, there's a lot of theory you can do. How can you then put it into practice, you know? And I think when you think of strong leaders, they have a passion. You know, you cannot lead others if you're not a passionate, energetic, positive person yourself. So if you bring that with you, I think then you can pass it on to others. Another key thing I think is communication. You know, how can you express yourself? How can you lead people if you cannot talk to them, right? And those are basic skills that can be learned, I think, to communicate effectively. And then I'm sure, as pretty much everything within the hotel industry, it just comes by experience and by practice, right? And then hopefully the junior leaders will grow over the years into more stronger and senior leaders within the company.
Thank you very much. As usual, it's been absolutely fantastic chatting with you.
Thank you. We could go on forever.
I know we could. I know you have a flight to catch. And I hope, you know, when you're back here for our next meeting, we'll get the opportunity again to chat about other topics.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.